What is up, fellow nerds, and welcome back to the Dapper Snapper Gaming channel, and welcome back to How Do I Want to Do This? This is our series where we take a look at all playable options available to players in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, then we rank them on a scale of 1 to 10 and either build them or fix them depending on how they rank. Now today we finish up our talks on the Hunter Ranger, and we are going to be fixing this today as it did not quite pass our ranking earlier in the week. So if you're looking forward to that, of course, make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe if you haven't already. As you can see, the vast majority of people who watch this channel are not subscribed, so please don't be one of those people. Come on, it's free. It takes 2 seconds. You can undo it anytime you want, but it really helps us out. We're trying to get to 4,000 by the end of this year. It's possible, maybe we're just shy of 3,500, but with your help, maybe we can make one final push and get there by the end of the year. Who knows? But make sure that you also have clicked the bell so that you're notified when new videos are uploaded, and share the video with your friends. And of course, before we jump into any of the fixes today, I want to make sure that I mention what it is to be a snapper, a member of this channel. Down below, you can of course click that join button, and for just $1.99 a month, you can of course support me in a way that is much further than what most people can, and it really helps me to know that I'm making good content, know that you all are enjoying the content. It helps me to just make this content, right? And so I really would appreciate you considering doing that. So at the bronze level, of course, again, only $1.99 a month. It's basically nothing. Come on. And you of course get access to all of my build guides and subclass fix guides, including the one from today's video, as well as all of the ones I've done in the past. So this is a really, really great way to support me and get something back in return, which is super nice. Of course, you also get the custom emotes and all the other fun stuff, but that's the main draw, right? Then, of course, if you would like to go up and support me a little bit more at the Silver Snapper level, which has a nice ring to it, you can, of course, get all of my videos 24 hours early and get a special shout out during my videos, which is fantastic. And finally, at the gold level, you will of course get priority access to not only a certain section of my Discord, but you also will then be able to help me out in picking certain types of variety builds, in helping me to pick certain rankings, and it just kind of gives you a lot of behind the scenes and a little more control and just an input over what happens on the channel. So really, really cool there. And of course, more incentives will be coming in the future for that as well. Of course, it is just amazing that you all are watching the videos and watching all the way through to the end. That really helps me out as well. So I thank you to all of you who are here watching. All right, intro over. Let's take a look at what we've got today. The Hunter Ranger, of course, we talked about had a lot of flaws in it back on Wednesday. I'll put that up in the iCard above. If you missed that, make sure you watch that first so that you understand where we started, and then now you can kind of see where we're ending up. This is probably one of the most changed subclasses that I've done, outside of maybe the 4 Elements Monk, which is up in the iCard above. I had to completely gut that one and redo it, but this one is pretty well gutted and changed, and a lot of things are moved around. And so I really wanted to make this my own. I really wanted to give it a different feel while also still maintaining a lot of what was there originally and just making it a lot better. So that is what we are choosing to do. Again, those of you who are needing a document of this to follow along, you can become a member and you will have access to that. So let's take a look at what we have here for our third level. We did only have one feature here with Hunter's Prey at level 3. I have expanded that to have 2 features. We still get Hunter's Prey, but it's been changed. And then I've also given us Hunter Magic. So let's go through both of these. So with Hunter's Prey, it's similar to what we had before, except that you now get to choose one or the other of features. There's now 2 features instead of 3. And you can choose to swap to a different one every time you finish a long rest. So you are not limited to just pick one and you're done for the rest of the build. You can actually swap between them on any given day, which is really, really nice to me. I think the flexibility is really what makes a huge difference here, because you look online and a lot of people say, oh, just give the Hunter Ranger all 3 of the features at each of the levels and then you're good, right? I don't think that's the way to do it. I think you still need the branching paths, but I don't think you should be locked into one of them. And I think each of the branching paths needs to be buffed in order for it to be a little bit better. So that's kind of where we're at on that. So let's take a look at what options we have. So for Giant Killer, I made one minor change, and I think that it makes this a little bit better without making it anything crazy. So when a larger creature hits or misses you with a melee attack, you can use your reaction to attack that creature immediately. The difference here is that it did originally require the creature to be within 5 feet of you. However, when you get into these larger creatures, a lot of times they will have reach. And so if that ends up being the case, then you don't have reach, and so that can be a problem, right? If you have a weapon with reach and then your opponent hits you with reach, it doesn't matter if they're not within 5 feet of you. So this makes it to where you can have that flexibility. If you were to go with a polearm, you can do that, and that's okay. Is this anything earth-shattering? No, not at all. But it does help a little bit in giving you a little bit more flexibility. Or if you're, say you're a bugbear, right, and you have that extended range, you can do that with any weapon. So it gives you a little bit more to work with there. Then for Hordebreaker, we made a little bit of a change as well. As for Hordebreaker, the change is a little bit more subtle, but it does make this a little bit better. So with this, of course, same thing. Once on your turns, when you make a weapon attack, you can make another attack with the same weapon against a different creature. However, instead of it being within 5 feet of the original target, I've expanded that to 15. Yes, it's still not amazing, but it is at least a little bit more flexible, just because within 5 feet is so restrictive. I thought about going with no restrictions and as long as it's within the weapon's range, but then you kind of lose the Hordebreaker aspect of it. And so it's just kind of make an extra attack, you know what I mean? Which isn't a bad thing. And if you think that that's the way it should go, let me know in the comments. But I think that expanding this to 15 feet definitely will at least make it a little bit more viable without making it anything broken. Also at level 3, I've given us Hunter Magic. And so every other subclass almost gets spells, but the Hunter doesn't get spells. So I'm giving us spells. Now, does it fit with the original Hunter theme? Not really, but I want to make sure that we are buffing the Hunter as much as we can, and to put us on the level with other Rangers, I think it's nice to give us some extra magic and maybe some buffed magic, and that is exactly what we have done here, and I think you all are going to like it. So with this, of course, at 3rd level, we're going to get an additional spell every time that we reach a certain level. Each spell counts as a Ranger spell, that kind of thing. It's all the same. However, we get 2 at 3rd level, and then we get 1 at each other level. We get Hunter's Mark built in for us, and I'll get to that in a second. We also get Ensnaring Strike. I've given us Pass Without Trace, Slow, Dominate Beast, and Hold Monster. It's all about hunting and keeping our prey in reach, right? And all of these do that. These are all amazing spells. All of these are standouts. They're really, really great. Most of them we can already get as a Ranger. So that's the thing. But the Hunter is also one of the most rangery Rangers that you can get. And so it makes sense for us to, have these automatically put in, even if they are already Ranger spells. So I try not to, stray too far away from the Ranger kit here, just because it is still very valuable. Let's get back to Hunter's Mark though. This is a buffed Hunter's Mark, and this is meant to replace the original 3rd option that we would have gotten on the original Ranger. The original Ranger, of course, had Colossus Slayer, and so this is kind of a replacement to that. You can cast Hunter's Mark for free a number of times per day equal to your Wisdom modifier. It does not require concentration when you do it, and it's a D8's worth of damage. So is this better or worse? Both. It's both, right? So normally that feature, the Colossus Slayer, would be able to combine with Hunter's Mark. However, it did require concentration for the original Hunter's Mark, and so you're knocked out anyway. This is a buffed Hunter's Mark that would deal extra damage. It would activate, of course, multiple times per turn, but it is limited to 1 enemy, where the other one was just limited to 1 attack, not necessarily tied to an enemy. The reason why I like doing this here is because I am going to further buff this later to be even better. And so I think that us building this as a ground zero for what we're going is nice. Plus it saves us on our castings of this, because it is free. We don't have to use a spell slot, and it's really, really nice. We also are going to buff the damage to a D8 on this version, so that's really helpful. I like that a lot. I think this is a huge buff to the Hunter subclass. Level 7, this is probably one of the biggest buffs that I have done for this subclass. This is a huge change. At level 7, you get to choose between evasion and uncanny dodge. Now, I said originally that I thought that you should get both. You can choose between either or, right? I don't want to necessarily step on the rogue's toes here any more than what this subclass already does, but this means that we can have evasion or uncanny dodge at the same level that the rogue gets the second one, right? And you can choose between them. You can say, I probably am going to be dealing with more dexterity saving throws on a given day. I'm going to take evasion. I probably am not going to be taking as many dexterity saving throws. I'm going to take uncanny dodge. That way I can have damage. You can choose between them. And so I think that this is really nice. Again, at the end of a long rest, you can choose which one you want. Doesn't matter. Here's the thing though. We have taken away the original features here, except for Steel Will, which I've just made a separate feature and buffed to include Charmed. So we're just really stubborn, and so we're not going to be frightened, and we're not going to be charmed, and this helps to get us back into the fray with things like the Fey Wanderer that could do both. So that's where we're at on that. Steel Will is just a separate 7th level feature now that you get no matter what. You don't have to choose it, it's just free. But then you also get to choose between evasion and uncanny dodge, which is really, really cool. At level 11, I only made one minor change, and so it's kind of buffing only one of them and not the other, although both could probably use a buff, but we'll see. So for multi-attack, the main beef of the feature is the same, minus the being able to swap back and forth between them at a long rest. But so with this, volley goes unchanged. But for whirlwind attack, I changed the wording to kind of match up with giant killer in how we are going with within reach rather than necessarily within 5 feet. It just expands our radius a little bit. And like I said, if you're a bugbear, then you're going to be giving up a lot of that reach if you don't have this, or if you have a polearm, you're just out of luck. So I think that it's important to have within reach rather than within 5 feet. And so it just makes the whirlwind attack a lot better. And it means that you don't necessarily have to have everybody up in your face. If they're within 10 feet of you and you have the reach, then you can make the attacks. And I think that that's just way better. Finally, level 15, I have thrown out the name Superior Defensive Tactics because one, I've already taken everything and shoved it to level 7. But yeah, we've thrown out basically all of this feature and redone the whole thing. So this is what we've got instead. This has to do with tracking and being an ultimate tracker as a hunter. And so each of these, again, you can choose one and then swap it out every time you reach a long rest. Number 1, you get the scrying spell. The scrying spell is really good for tracking because then you can just see where the creature is, which is really cool. The target also has a -2 penalty to its saving throw against this feature, of course, taking into account both of the other modifiers that would apply to scrying as normal. So that's pretty good. Next, we have Mark of the Hunter because, it's very close to Hunter's Mark, but it's technically different. I don't know. But with this, you know the distance and direction of any creature that has been affected by your Hunter's Mark spell within the last 24 hours, unless it is on a different plane of existence. This can be really cool. This is regardless of range, doesn't matter, as long as it's on the same plane of existence, you know exactly where that creature is, which is really cool. So you come into combat with something and it runs away, doesn't matter, you know where it went. It's cool. It breaks everything, but that's good, right? It's level 15. Who cares? So I think this is huge. And finally, Hunter's Mark improvement, which is probably what's going to be used most of the time. So whenever you cast Hunter's Mark in the special way that we can on this subclass, the additional damage is now 2d8 rather than just the 1d8. And furthermore, whenever you mark a new target by transferring it between two things once you kill something, it is no longer a bonus action to do so. You retain that bonus action. It is free. I think that this is a really nice buff. Is it late? Sure. But Hunter's Mark is still a really, really great first level spell. And I think it makes it worth it to buff it at this point to make it really worth taking. we have it for free, so we might as well use it and we might as well make the most of it. So it makes total sense to me to just make it that much better. So yeah, what do you think? Let me know what you think down below of these changes that I have made. Make sure that you go ahead and join the channel so that you can pick up a copy of this document that I have made for you all. It really helps me out. But yeah, I'd love to see in the comments what you think. Did I go too far? Is it not far enough? How can we kind of change this up and see what is best for this subclass? I'm really excited about it. One note, next week there will not be any D&D videos. My Pokemon videos will be still coming out as normal because UNPL continues on even through Thanksgiving, but I am taking the week off from making D&D videos next week so that I can spend time with my family over the course of Thanksgiving, and then we will be back the following week to continue with the Ranger, and then we will finish that out. We'll finish it just before Christmas, which is really, really nice. So until next time, stay safe out there, stay healthy. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.